APUSH people, we have part 2 of our series on the new curriculum and the new test. This one is dealing with the short answer questions, or SAQs, brand new to the new APUSH test. So I'm going to do my best to go over and help you understand what exactly is expected of you from you and what you will encounter in May. So let's get started. All right, the new test. I'm going to do a quick review of the new test. Part 1 of the exam will consist of 55 multiple choice questions and 4 short answer questions. Now, AP suggests that you use 55 minutes for those 55 multiple choice questions. That's 1 per minute. And 45 minutes for the 4 short answer questions, about 11 minutes per short answer question. These are suggested, but when you take the test, that you will be given all of part 1 and you will have 100 minutes to complete it. So really, it's up to you how you divide part 1 up, whatever works best for you. Then you'll get a break, 10-15 minutes. You'll get to collect your thoughts. And then you will take part 2, which will consist of a DBQ essay and a long essay. So the old exam format had you writing a DBQ and 2 free response questions. This one, you're only doing 1 DBQ and 1 long essay. And you're given 95 minutes to complete that. They suggest that you spend 60 minutes on the DBQ, which is worth more. It's worth about 25% of your grade. And the long essay is worth 15% of your grade. By the way, the short answer questions, what this video will be dealing with, is 20% of your total grade on the AP test. And that is it, and you will be done, and hopefully you will do very, very well and earn college credit on the exam. That is the plan. All right, so before we get into the short answer questions, it's imperative that you understand the new curriculum. This is something I talked about in the multiple choice question video, and I'm going to go over it again because it's that important. You need to understand how you will be assessed. If you have not already, and I've said this a million times, I'm going to keep saying it, download and look at the new curriculum. Teachers, parents, students, do it so you understand what you are expected to know and how you will be assessed on the test. You will be assessed on time periods, and there are 9 of them: historical thinking skills and themes. And I will have videos throughout the year on historical thinking skills and themes. For now, I'm focusing on the time periods. That's the content of it. So far, as of today, September 13th, 2014, I have periods 1 through 3 done, as well as part 1 of 3 of period 4. So key concept 4.1 is done. And in the next couple of days, I will have key concept 4.2 done as well. And the plan is to knock out 1 per week. So easily by May, with lots of time to spare, I will have all 9 time periods done. Now, when you're looking at the curriculum, you must be familiar with the white area of the new curriculum. And you're asking yourself, what is the white area? Well, look here. This is page 32 of the curriculum framework. When you see letters A, B, C, and D, this is the white area. The gray area here underneath, I'll talk about in just a minute. But anything that's in the white area, APUSH expects you to know. The College Board demands that you know this, and this is what you will be directly assessed on. So no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to know A, B, C, and D. These could be answers to multiple choice questions, and these could also be answers to the short answer question as well. As I tell my students, the white areas are the big ideas area, and you are expected to know the basics, but especially for the short answer and the essay portion, the DBQ portion, you must be able to explain things in more detail. So the white area is just the basics, but you have to explain them in more detail. And some suggestions for you to explain them in more detail are in the gray area here. So, for example, you don't need to know the specific disease smallpox to be able to explain that the conquest of the Americas led to widespread deadly epidemics. You can choose another disease if you wish. Perhaps you live in a certain part of the United States that was affected by a certain disease more so than another. And that's something that you want that your teacher or you focus on because that is relevant to you in your area. You can write about that instead. You don't need to specifically mention smallpox, for example, in explaining that. For my students, I focus on smallpox. But there are other examples you could use if you want to show your expertise in that area. The gray area is not required to know. So again, you're not required to write about smallpox, but you should be familiar with one of those examples in the gray area or another one that will allow you to show your knowledge and be able to demonstrate your knowledge of the white area. I hope I'm explaining this okay. If not, please leave them in the comments and I can address it for you. So for example, let's go back to this. The introduction of new crops and livestock by the Spanish had far-reaching effects on native settlement patterns. They're not telling you a specific crop or livestock, but you should be familiar with a couple crops and a couple livestock. Now, they are suggesting here horses and cows. Do you need to specifically know horses? No. I teach horses because it's easy and it's simple for me to explain to the students the impact the horses had on, for example, the Great Plains region of the current United States and how that impacted Native Americans back then. That's how they could demonstrate the impact of the introduction of horses and how it had far-reaching effects on native settlement patterns. That is something my students can currently do because I spent time going over that. If you'd rather talk about another crop or another livestock, you are allowed to. That's perfectly acceptable. When you are writing these short answers in the essay, you have a choice of what to write about. So again, you can explain the impact of a new crop or livestock by the Spanish. You are not required to use horses, but you must be able to explain the impact of at least one livestock and crop, maybe even two just to be safe. I would encourage you to know. Okay, so let's go to the actual short answer questions. What the heck are they? Well, these will test not only your content knowledge, but your knowledge of historical thinking skills. And I will have a video on historical thinking skills at some point. I'm going to do the content first. And these are known as HTS. And here are the 9 different historical thinking skills that you need to know. Historical argumentation. Use of relevant historical evidence could be as simple as using an appropriate piece of evidence to support your answer. For example, the horse and how that was a livestock that changed Native American life. Historical causation, simply cause and effect, what happens. Patterns of continuity and change over time. How did things remain the same and how did things change over time? That is a very, from released questions I've seen and from practice essay questions I've seen, that is a very popular topic. How have things remained the same yet changed at the same exact time? Periodization is why are things grouped into certain time periods and how could an event be seen as part of a specific time period? Compare and contrasting 2 different events, contextualization, interpretation, and synthesis. Now, synthesis is a bigger one, and that's most likely going to be reserved for the DBQ and the essays. I'll go over some examples of each one of these questions. What exactly does that mean? Some of these short answer questions may have a source, like the multiple choice questions. Maybe there's a reading, maybe there's a map, maybe there's a picture. Some will just explain requirements. You're likely to see both of them on the test. All of these answers, don't let short answer fool you. All of them must be in complete sentences. You may not write bullets. Don't do it. You need to have complete sentences in order to get full credit. And this is, again, is worth 20% of your grade. So let's go over some tips for short answer questions. You must answer within the boxes only. Each question, there will be 4 of them, has 1 box, which is just shy of 1 page in length. You have to answer essentially 3 parts. Sometimes it's 2, but most of the time it's 3 parts within that 1 page box. AP readers will not read anything outside the box. So make sure that you can fit all the requirements within that box. Keep it pithy. Both space and time is limited. These are short answers. So for each part, A, B, and C, you should be looking at 3 to 5 sentences. These are not essays, so don't confuse them with essays. Just keep it short, yet answering the question. With this allotted 45-minute suggested time, make sure you understand what the question is asking. You could be writing some brilliant stuff that is fantastic and correct in every way. But if it doesn't answer the question, you are not going to get credit for it. So make sure you are understanding what the question is asking you, and you are then writing appropriate responses. And again, all 4 questions must be answered. So make sure that you have practice with this, that you can time it out to answer all 4 questions. Okay, let's go over some types of question stems. What exactly could you be countering? So again, you could have questions with sources like photos, maps, excerpts, etc., just like the multiple choice. So if you do see a question with a source, here are some questions that you could be asked. Explain the meaning of document 1 and 2. Sometimes they'll give you 2 short readings, maybe 4 to 5 sentences each, maybe a little bit longer, comparing 2 different interpretations of an event. And then you would be asked to explain why are there differences. So you essentially would summarize each document, explain the differences between the 2 of them. And then the next part would be what other info would support a view of one of the documents. So this is your time to show the AAP readers, to demonstrate to them your knowledge of this event or time period. So you are required to include some outside info not mentioned in the documents that would match up with one of those two documents or sources. And this would assess your ability to your historical thinking skills of comparison and appropriate use of historical evidence. Questions without sources could include explain a cause or two of the American Revolution. So identify a cause and explain it. Then, to continue with this historical causation, after you've explained the causes, it could ask you what was a result of the American Revolution. All of this would be one short answer question. So part A could be one cause, part B could be another cause, and part C would be what was the result or the effect of the American Revolution. Another one dealing with periodization could be of the following three events, which could mark the beginning of, for example, the American identity. So maybe it's the French and Indian War, the Stamp Act Congress, the Boston Tea Party, the Declaration of Independence. Which one of those could mark the beginning of an American identity? If you talk about the Civil War, maybe it's the Missouri Compromise of 1820, maybe it's the Nullification Crisis, maybe it's the Compromise of 1850, maybe it's a couple other ones. Which one of those marks the beginning of sectional conflict? And you would have to support your choice and explain why you picked that. And then you would also have to pick another one of those and say why that's not as good as your choice. So this requires you to know a lot about a couple different events. Another option could be pick the Great Awakenings, the first and second, or the first and second Red Scare. Explain one similarity for why they occurred. So what do they have in common as to why these events happened? That could be part A. Part B could be what are the similarities between the two. And part C could be how did Americans respond? And that could be comparing. That could assess your historical thinking skill of comparison. So those are some sample question stems. Be familiar with those. All right, guys, that is it for the short answer question portion of the APUSH exam. Please make sure if you have not already, check out my multiple choice question video, and I will have videos soon on the long essay portion and the DBQ as well. I thank you guys very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer all of them. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck on your APUSH exam in May and all the tests that you'll take throughout the year. Please do lots of practice so nothing will surprise you when May comes around. That's it, and have a good day, guys.